Liberia and was such a shame. They put into the national anthem, so they went out in the street to say this is terrible. One senator said, but why do we need to know the national anthem? It's not necessary. So they went out in the street asking everybody, this boy, I can sing it. Oh, hey, he couldn't remember. They did it 2 or 3 people. One little boy, if I had a recorder that day, I'm telling you, I put it on YouTube for the African audience. The little boy said the day I was in total and complete shock. Oh, hey, Liberia, hey, oh, hey. Oh, hey, Liberia, hey, oh, hey. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. You still my macro, enjoy. Hey! Enjoy, you still my macro, enjoy, enjoy, you still my macro. Echo run now, what take Papa come, man. Echo run now, what take Papa come. We go run now, what take Papa come, man. Let me answer my baby. Let me happy. Ethiopia. You are a senior today. You are a senior today, right? But don't be that the little boy in the 5th grade, so you graduated from the 5th, you are there. That's it. In the 5th grade, 11 and 12 years old. But anyway, they were told to use the word definitely. And the other, I definitely want to be a lawyer. The other, I definitely want to be a doctor. So, the little boy he had a hand up. And teacher, she said, I told you use the word definitely. And teacher, in fact, not bad. Because if not not pay, I definitely left the people in my clothes. Let me give you. It's important to go to church, and it's important to give that witness due to God. All right. One man, and he was so desperate. Oh, if you can't give up your money, she said, I tell you, any money that you give me, I will take some out for the poor and the needy. I will take my own up. I will take your own up. He was going where I don't know and found a plastic bag, and it happened to be filled with money. Oh God. I didn't know you would answer press journalist. He took the money, he counted, and God, I promise you, I will take out money for the poor and the needy. Right now, I can't find anybody more poor and needy than me. Yeah, man, who I can't take him up. Your I promise you, God, I will give you your share. But right now, I can't find anybody to stand by. So I will bring it when I come. Jehovah. Where we are from. Yeah. It's good. And mind you, the talented people that we have, you're finding problems in understanding what I am saying. I was just wondering, because the English language is so beautiful. And from where we come, you understand, there are so many ways to say things. You know the word for that? But the way you tell your mom, it looks it. They got the Fusa word is a part, right? Yeah, that's what it is. The Fusa. But if you were to meet a young lady today or tomorrow, and she sees you and says, oh, I smell Fusa, you won't go with her. You see the importance of exposure. Let me tell you this, woman that you feeling getting here today. Do not stop here. Do not stop here. Education without exposure is nothing. Believe you me. You understand? I thought my children, they thought I was joking. You've been out to see how these people that use forks and knives? For example? Have you done it? Have you seen it? Huh? Yeah. But if you want to live in a village in America, you gotta decide which one you want to be. You understand? Do not marry a villager. This is indigenous thing to you. I'm telling you something. No, listen, I'm sound. Do not marry a villager. You take her up on the profile, I think I do you yourself will not. Hey, make it happy. Jehovah. Let me leave you all with this. The last graduation I did, not quite. Anyway, this was a young lady. Finished college. The people came. She was a Nigerian. They talked about how wonderful she was. They talked about all of the things that they hoped she would aspire to get. And she should excel in life. All these things here. And she was there, oh, thank you and thank you. But she was not a pretty girl. You understand what I'm saying? She was not a pretty girl. So her mother and father came, we just want you to have an education and we want you to have somebody who will be on your level. And I took the lady mistake of giving me the microphone. Hey, Georgette! So I told her, nothing is wrong with education. Believe all the things that they tell you. Excel and all. Just think your mind part talking, you believe you me. By the time you reach 35, 40 and you are not married, I'm telling you, if he doesn't even have a high school diploma and he comes to marry you, believe you me, they will take it. Hey, you can you know, when the I want the best for my children, it's true. And I think they should do this, it's true. And by the time the children read it, you say, you know, friend, but who look at their face and get that friend? Some of the children, if they are ugly, be happy indeed. That's why they say all babies are beautiful, all children are cute. I say, no. But show me Jane little baby picture. All the children are fine. I had a poor child in kindergarten, they paid to me. Yeah, what are you going? There's not coming down in the house that the other day. I said, no, what are you all about? They can have me, Jehovah. Come again, let me on. See, what you do?
So, my name is Amma, but I am formerly known as Thomas, and I was asked to give words of encouragement. I'm not as funny as my Aunt G over here, but I think I will be very brief on a couple of words, and then, it's for Ashford here. So, one thing about growing up, especially like Aunt G said about Africans, is growing up with African parents. And there's a group out there that discusses the struggle of having African parents. And we trade stories off about our experiences that we have having African parents. The biggest thing that we talk about is how they communicate with us. I'm sure all of you know very well how you communicate with your children. It's all at the same level, the same pitch, the same tone. For example, American people call their child Jonathan, but you don't call him Jonathan. What do you call him when you need the remote and you can't find the remote from your bed? John Nathan! That boy, John Nathan! John Nathan! Yes, Mom. Mom, baby, can you find a remote for me? Mom, it's right here by the bed. Oh, can you check the channel? But the way that they have us trained from a young age, and the one that always makes me laugh, is the way that without even pointing their fingers, they can point you in the direction of where to find some stuff. I will demonstrate physically for you. Using the same person, Jonathan. Jonathan! dog. Come here. Please hand me that knife on the table. Where's that, Mom? Now, like I said, we talk about it all the time, growing up and having, African parents and having, growing up in an African household. The biggest thing about it is that, especially when you're talking about growing up in this country, there's really only two ways you can go. You can either adapt to the American culture. By most standards, some of your children do, or some of your children embrace their heritage. Now, I will say publicly, I do know the Liberian National Anthem. I do have a pretty good understanding about Liberian politics and history. Now, the difference is that when I look at some of the people that have been our elders and people that have taught us, over the past recent years, we've lost track of that. We don't discuss, we don't talk, we don't engage each other. The thing about it that I always have told people, and for those of you that don't know what I do now, I am a life coach. I discuss and I am a philosopher. Yes. Thank you. But the biggest thing that you've come to realize in this life, and the only thing that, these are the things that are guaranteed to all of you, is that you all have hopes, you all have dreams, you all have aspirations, you've all been disappointed, you've all been failed, you've all been let down. These are all things that we all have in common. But yet, for some weird reason, we tend to isolate each other, we tend to turn our backs on one another, and we tend to talk down about one another. So, that being said, if there is no difference between any of us in this room and that are out there, we need to embrace the fact that we need to inspire each other, to help each other. Not in times when we gather around when we're talking about, people graduating or not, when people are getting married, or when somebody is dead and gone, or when a funeral happens, or, when you feel the need after a couple drinks of alcohol to share your thoughts with people. But in those more natural times. That being said, this microphone is kind of hot. That being said, for Ashford, do not let anyone tell you that you are not good enough, that you do not have the abilities to succeed. The difference is with everybody in this room is that we were all born. Some of us were celebrated at birth. Some of us were wanted at birth. But some of us were not wanted at birth. And some of us were not celebrated at birth. And that being said, for those of you that were celebrated, and for those of you that were wanted at birth, be very grateful for that. And recognize that though you may look at other people, you do not know their story. You do not know where they come from. You do not know what they've experienced. Respect that you know within your heart that you have had experiences where you've been disappointed, where you've been let down, where you've been failed, but also that you have hope, that you have dreams, that you have aspirations, and that this child, right here, as he transitions into adulthood, he will face this adversity like the rest of us. And to the parents that feel, because I do recognize that parents, sometimes we get frustrated. And some of you feel along the lines that